What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Chaossworn. Now, I specifically kept this as a roundabout 40 card deck. It does involve the Horus engine, it does not involve Telements, Fiendsmiths or any of those, but the idea is that you're kind of utilising the abilities of Lights and Darks to set you up some more Chaos extension to be able to kind of extend your plays and get you what is pretty much an unbreakable end field. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming contents. Of course, you can optimize this build a little bit more depending on what you're trying to achieve. I've just tried to keep it as a base minimum of what you could be looking for, and then you adapt on top of it. Lightsworn is one of them decks that has so many different variants. It's really fun, and it never really gets boring because you have so many different ways to change it up. So we're going to be starting off with triple Weiss. Now, I always get told off on this one because I always see it as Whis from Dragon Ball, but then I kind of remind myself that it's like Weiss. Either way, this card is such an incredibly good card for the deck. I can't wait for this to get a 4 upgrade because it surely deserves it. But then I was also quite happy that it was a common when it first came out because, you know, I didn't want it all to be high rarity and then hard to get. And then of course you do play triple Lightsworn Draglin. So these were two of the more recent new ones along with the Minerva Synchro Monster. But the idea is between the two of these, what you're going to be able to set up is you're going to be able to set up 3 extenders and 3 routes into your Minerva before you've even really conducted much of a summon. So this one you get to place another Lightsworn card from the hand on top of the deck, special summon this card from the hand, and then you send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now where that gets the most benefit is when you're putting stuff like Felices from your hand to the top of the deck, or of course Wolves, because then as soon as it mills those 2 cards, one of those 2 will be coming back, if not both, if you have both of them. And then of course you can straight away synchro into a level 8, and that's where it gets really good. If this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, you get to target a Lightsworn monster in the graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. So again, being able to use both of those effects just allows it to keep extending. Draglin is if you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you get to special summon this card from the hand. If this card is special summoned, you get to send 1 Lightsworn card from the deck to the grave, accept itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard by any means, you get to add a dragon monster with 3000 attack and 2600 defense from the deck to the hand. You can only use each effect once per turn, so obviously that's going to search you out your main boss monster in the form of the Lightsworn Dragon. Speaking of Wolf and Felice, we are playing triple Wolf. Now I'm only on 2 Felice. Now the reason I'm only on 2 Felice as opposed to 3 Wolf is just if it is sent to the graveyard from the deck by any means, you're absolutely fine to special summon it, whereas Felice specifically needs to be sent via a monster effect. But then of course when you are taking Weiss into account, you can of course put the Felice to the top of the deck and they become less bricks. You just don't ever really want to be seeing both of these in the hand because then that's just kind of where you're really slowing your states down. Then we've got 2 Raidens. Raiden is a little bit less reliant in this particular version of the deck just because like Weiss is like, or Weiss, sorry, is the better way to go for it. Raiden is still a great normal summon, but then of course that's where your Horus cards kind of come into play. The benefit of something like Raiden is that you, during the main phase, you get to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If any Lightsworn monster is sent to the graveyard by this effect, you gain 200 attack, but the chances are it's more so as a level 4 tuner, and then obviously the ability to mill 2 cards. You're probably going to be milling them at random than anything else. And then of course for the last Lightsworn kind of cards, we played the 1 Lumina, and then of course the 1 Judgment Dragon. Then for the spell cards and strat cards that are specifically revolving around the Lightsworns, we are on triple Solar Recharge with triple Charge of the Light Brigade. Obviously, both of these cards are insane, and I feel that if any other deck had a card like this, it would be absolutely mental. So Charge, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard to add a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from the deck to the hand. And then Solar Recharges, you discard 1 Lightsworn, draw 2, then send the top 2 cards from the deck to the graveyard. I don't know about you, but every time I've activated and resolved this card, it's always been draw the cards I want to mill, and then mill the cards I want to draw. But that's just part of Lightsworn. And then of course reinforce with the army to search out your warrior monsters, and then the 1 Lightsworn Aegis. I actually really do like this card still. Some people don't, you can cut it out completely if you want to, but this one lets you target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Lightsworn monsters you control, and the chances are that when you're ending your end field in another version of this, you're not really ending on a lot of Lightsworns, whereas with this you can actually afford to end on more Lightsworns and still be very defensive. Negate their effects until the end of the turn, but then on top of that is if this card is sent from the deck to the grave, you get to set this card, so that's why I kind of quite like it. And then whether you want to hold yourself back on one of your Lightsworn monsters, it still kind of gets you whatever you need. And then just for generic card, we play the 1 Perform Age Trick Cloud. Just as a level 4 mill, you pay 1000 life points, bring it back, and you're constantly going to be able to keep looping it back whenever you need to. So when you send it during your opponent's turn, you name it, but of course you can cut it out if you need to. For the Horus package, we are playing a very small Horus package, but you can up this if you want to. So we've got the 1 Happy, the 3 Mseti, and the 1 King Sark. Now the reason we've kept this as a minimum, because if you want to take it out, you can do. That's 5 cards, swap them out straight away. It's currently a 42 card deck, so you bring it back down to 37, and then you find 3 spaces of additional cards you want to add, whether that be 3 more Chaos Monsters, whether that be 3 Bestials. You have that flexibility, and this engine can very easily become the Bestial engine of 1 Lubellion, because you can search it out with your Chaos form. And then, of course, you've got your Magnamu, your Druid Swarm, your Baldrake, and then your Regained. Straight away, you want to hard open up the Mseti. Discarding the Mseti plus a Lightsworn puts you your attributes in the graveyard that you're going to need, because more times than not, your Lightsworns will be the light, and then, of course, the Mseti is the dark. Rare that you actually want to use the Mseti being banished fodder, but if you have multiples, you don't mind. The idea behind this one is that your Mseti straight away gets you access to your King Sark. You want to be trying to be doing that before you do any mills, because the only kind of card that you'll end up drawing from would be your Minerva rank 4, and that's very rare that that's always going to resolve, so you do need to keep that in mind. The idea is hard open up the Mseti, activate it, resolve it, do what you need to do, then get access to your Happy, and you've deck finned by 2 cards. Technically you can deck fin by 1 more, because you can send another Mseti to the graveyard, and that will then set you up another dark attribute that you don't mind banishing, because you have 2 Msetis in the grave. And then kind of go from there. Then for the other supporting kind of like Chaos-esque cards, I do like to play the 1 Corridor and the 1 Flag. Yes, of course, if you wanted to, you could put a Thunder Dragon Colossus in the extra deck, which can be very, very effective as well. And you can cut these out completely to get the deck down to 40. What I quite like about these is in the Chaos variant, because I am banishing so many cards, being able to utilize Flag and Corridor to put them back, and the fact that Flag is searchable with the Infernal Flame Banshee from the extra deck can be very, very helpful. And then the reason that I'm not playing Colossus in the extra deck is because I like the idea that Corridor is a level 4, so it's still just another nice free extender that can then open up some synchro plays if I want it, or of course it can open up the ability for some rank 4s. Then for the Chaos cards, we are currently on 2 White Wyvern and 2 Black Collapse, obviously newly returned to 2. To be honest, you don't need to be relying on these at 2, you just increase your chances of hard opening them, so that as soon as you can get a dark or a light to the graveyard, you then just go, cool, happy days, extend. And the benefit of these being level 4s, again, opens up the options for synchro level 8s, and then on top of that as well, as if you wanted to, you could splash in a Chaos Angel, but that would really be dictated more so by the Bestials than the Horus cards, which is why we play a level 12 in the extra deck, that I'll show you in a minute. For the other Chaos cards, we are playing the 1 Levianeer and the 1 Creator. Creator is obviously the extender for going first. Levianeer can also go first, rip a card from the hand, or destroy cards on the field going second, so it gives you that balance of both. Then we play the 1 Chaos Space, because obviously being able to turn your Lightsworns into your Black Collapse is very, very important. Let's say you're going to be turning into these 2, but you do have the option to also search out your Judgment Dragon, but then also use your Judgment Dragon as fodder for either of these 2. 1 Foolish Burial, and then 3 Forbidden Droplets, just because going second, you want to be able to send your cards. That then sets up your graveyard for your lights and darks for Chaos plays, and you're basically just netting yourself as much advantage as possible, while also negating your opponent's field. So that's it for the entire main deck. Like I said, you have so much flexibility in this one. If you're like, I want to play Chaos, but I want to play it with the Bestials, by all means you can do. If you want to play, you don't want to play the Chaos, you don't want to play Bestials, you don't want to play the Horus, you do have the options of going for a more mill style deck, and that's where your Telements come into play. So you do have a lot of flexibility with the deck, which is what I love about it so much. For the Synchros, we are playing 3 Synchros. 1 in the form of the Minerva, the Athena Lightsworn. Absolutely love this card. Such a great addition to the deck when we received it. Lightsworn monsters you control cannot be banished by card effects. You get to only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is Synchro Sound, you get to send Lightsworn monsters with different types from the deck to the grave, up to the number of Lightsworn monsters used as this card's material, which usually more times than not will be 2, and then that straight away opens up the option to play a rank 4, because you'll be able to send 2 that can either open up the door for another level 8 Synchro or a rank 4, depending on what you're trying to play. You can banish up to 4 Lightsworn monsters from the graveyard, send that many cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, so just additional free mills as well. For the other level 8 Synchro, I do like to play the 1 Chaos Archfiend. You don't have to, completely up to you, but it requires a Light Tuner, which most of your Lightsworns, if not all of your Lightsworns, are. And then if any card or cards has been banished this turn, this card gains 2,000 attack. It gets to attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, and you banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card. If this card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you get to special summon a Chaos Synchro monster from the extra deck except itself. Now again, that's where Chaos Angel can come into play, but because I'm not naturally having the option to make Chaos Angel, I'm not playing another Chaos monster. The idea is that this is basically your equivalent of a Tyrant Dragon, that it can attack all your opponent's monsters once each, clear off the field, and then you can pretty much push him for the rest of the game after that point. And more times than not, you will be banishing during the turn, so that's when it's going to get the additional 2,000 attack. The last synchro that I've decided to play is the Super Heavy Samurai Brave. Now you can of course open up the option to play more synchro level 12s and stuff like Crimson Dragon. You can then look at to the Centurion Lagita. But the idea behind this one, and the reason I chose this, is because of the Horus cards and just some of your Chaos cards, droplets and everything else, you are actually burning through your hand resource very, very quickly, very, very easily. So the idea what I liked about this one is this is any level 8 plus a level 4 tuner. So any of your Horus monsters or your Minerva plus any of your Lightsworn tuners, which you have Felice, Weiss, Weiss, and Raiden. So you've got loads of different options to make this. And then the benefit of this one is it gets to sit in defense as a 4K defender and attack in defense. And then if a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control will be destroyed by Battle of Card Effect, you get to destroy another Super Heavy Samurai, which obviously we're not playing. But the other effect is once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell or trap card or effect, you get to draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. So it's one of the ones where if you burn through your resource, if you're going second and you make this, as soon as they activate a spell or trap, you go, cool, refresh my hand. If you end this on your field and you're like, right, okay, I want to get some more resource for the following turn, they activate a spell or trap, you go, okay, cool, Brave, draw 3. And everyone's going to be like, whoa, I didn't even know that was a thing. Not that you're going to be drawing into hand traps, but it basically just means you've got more chance of coming back if they do break your field, which if you go off unanswered, it's going to be very rare that they even do. Let's do the links before we do the XYZ. So for the links, we've got the one liner. We've got the one Striker Dragon, the one SP Little Knight. Now, with the Striker Dragon, arguably, you could also look into the Hieratic Seals, but the idea behind this one is you would turn any of your Black Collapse or White Wyverns into the Striker Dragon. That would then allow you to trigger the Black Collapse or White Wyvern to search out the other card, and then you've got 2 monsters on the field for technically 3. And then, of course, we've got the one Skull Dread and the one Abower Q. The Abower Q is just something that I want to try out. The ability more so, obviously, you have Fiends in the main deck in the form of your Weiss. You do have Fiends in the extra deck should you want to go down that route as well. But what I quite like about it is discard a card to revive from the graveyard or discard a card to destroy a card can be very, very useful, so it can add to your end field. But again, this is one of the flex spots that you can start opening up for like Heavenly Spheres. You can open it up for more rank 8s, more rank 4s. It really is up to you. Speaking of rank 8s, we do play 4 rank 8s, one in the form of the Galaxy's Photon Lord as your monster protector, so that if you are worried about Nibiru, you go through the Horus package to make this. You can also make this with like Minerva or any of your other Synchro level 8s, which is where this can really put in a lot of work. Then of course you've got your Extender and Miller in the form of the Zombie Vampire, followed up by your Spell Negator in the form of the Hope Harbinger. So you choose one or the other pretty much when you're making these plays, but then if your end field does end with 2 level 8s, you can go, okay, cool, I'll make another one. And then we do play the one Ding. Again, this is a flexible spot. I just like the ability to protect from destruction, as well as that non-target sand can be very, very important. For the final rank 4s, we do play the one Infernal Flame Banshee, and of course the Minerva Exalted Lightsworn, and then the one Typhon. Just because of those particular formats, Typhon can put in a lot of work, especially if your opponent is able to pick apart everything you're trying to build as you're trying to break their field. And then you go, okay, cool, normal summon a monster, special summon a monster, get one monster to the field, or they've left the monster on the field, you go, cool, turn it into a Typhon return, and then you at least you have a bit of a semi-fighting chance. But that really kind of comes down to the environment and what you're facing. So that's it for the entire main deck and extra deck. I'm now going to show you a demo side deck going forward. So at this moment in time, if you are expecting loads and loads of Malice to be turning up post Alliance Insight, of course go with Triple Lancia. If you're not expecting Malice in the environment because it's very, very expensive or your environment isn't as highly competitive, you'd swap these out for what I would assume would be more direct counters to something like Blue Eyes. So you've got Ghost Ogres, you've got possible more back row destruction to deal with True Lights, Ghost Bells, you name it. The same could be said for the Phantasme. Again, this is just another one that I feel that if your opponent is trying to target some of your card effects, having Phantasme in rotation could be very, very helpful. Especially in Malice when they're going to go link heavy, you can summon down Phantasme, refresh your hand a little bit and kind of move on from there. But these are 6 flex spots depending on what you're trying to work towards, what you're trying to face. And then, of course, you'd either play Eschatos or Protoss, so it's one or the other. The idea is you search off of your Nemesis flag, so it really is down to the environment you want to go for, whether you have different types in the graveyard, different attributes in the graveyard. Probably going to be better off with different types for this particular one, for the pure fact that your lights ones are all going to be different types, and more times than not, your attributes are like lights and darks in the odd scenarios, so this one will be more suited for this deck. But if you can find a way to fit Protoss in that makes Protoss work a little bit more consistently for you, then by all means go for it. I'm currently trying out Deck Lockdown over Drone Lockbird. Obviously, Drone Lockbird is better if you're going second. You can play any of the chummies as well. You've got your Fluoros, you've got your Meowis, you've also got the Perulia if you have access to them. But what I liked about deck lockdown as an alternative to Droll is if I go first, neither player get to add cards from the deck to the hand except by drawing them, which is fine. But then monsters cannot be special on from the main deck. So that can really help the Malice matchup sometimes, especially if they want to try and use TB11. And that's one of their combo starters to get going. Now, obviously, if you're going second, then you don't put this in. That's where Dry Lotbo would be something more to consider. But I just thought this would be a kind of an option to consider that not a lot of people will be talking about because they're looking directly at Droll and kind of overlooking this card. But I feel this card could put in a bit of work for you depending on the environment. So the last side deck card we are playing is a True Tactics Thrust Engine. So obviously you've got your 2 Thrusts, your 1 Duster, D-Barrier and Cannon. Now obviously you would adapt these to the environment you're going to. If you feel that DDG will be more effective, you just need to kind of keep in mind that you're not going to be relying on a lot of links in your end field, whereas a Malice matchup will, and that's the deck that I feel would be the most prominent at a higher competitive event. D-Barrier is one of them flexible ones. If you still feel that you're going to need to deal with your Ryziel matchups, then of course D-Barrier is the option to look at. And of course Duster just deals with back row. So it's entirely up to you on what you have access to. But this is just a nice little engine that can help you out, get you to these, and then you can change up some of the targets. You can look at stuff like evenly matched if you want to as well. So that's it for the entire main deck, extra deck, and of course side deck. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. However, that is it for the Chaos-Sworn profile. If you do want to see a different version of Lightsworn, then let me know. Then I'll have a look into what other variants I can kind of put together for you. Like I said, there's a 60 card version. There is a pure version where you only play Lightsworn. And then obviously the one that was requested the most was the Chaos update, which is why I've decided to do this particular version. But yeah, it's entirely up to you. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know your thoughts on Lightsworns in general. I think it's a really, really fun deck. I would love it to get more support, but it's literally only just received some. So I feel we could be a while off yet. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.